My, what do we have here? It looks like another short seller is attacking BMNR before it explodes. Guys, if you haven't heard, some pretty nasty news came out in the form of a negative short seller report. A short seller is basically a bear, someone that's betting against the stock, borrowing the shares, and then selling them to try to make the price go down and buy them back to profit from the difference. So I saw this article all over, and let's talk about it. Okay. Now I think a lot of people don't really understand how short sellers make money, so they buy into the FUD. Okay. To give you guys an example, Tesla at one time was a really heavily shorted stock, and people were betting against it, and you know, it really showed that not only does Tesla withstand its short seller attack, it became a stronger company, but they have crypto on their balance sheet. And that's why Bitmine is going to survive this short seller attack. Now, guys, from my experience, I'll tell you, short sellers can destroy a fiat stock, meaning a stock that doesn't have any digital assets on its balance sheet. But when a company has digital assets on its balance sheet, it becomes impenetrable to failure and short sellers over the long run. Now, maybe in the short run, there's going to be some selling off, and that's what we've seen, because it looks like, once again, the price has dumped at about $65. So it looked like we were running up. Now, obviously, you guys can see Ethereum is down, okay? So when Ethereum's down, BMNR is going to be down. So don't think that this short seller report is 100% responsible for the price going down, but it's not good. Okay, obviously it's not a good sign. So let's talk about the story. So Bitmine stocks trade choppy after Kerrisdale short seller report. So this is at Cointelegraph. So it says Bitmine stocks saw major swings after the Ethereum treasury firm caught the ire of short seller Kerrisdale. She issued a scathing report on the company. So yeah, it's a pretty nasty report, guys. I have the report pulled up, so let's go over it. Basically, they say the company's digital asset accumulation strategy doesn't work anymore, which is hilarious because, once again, these short sellers, they just think in fiat dollars. They don't understand crypto. They don't understand that cryptocurrency is 21st century money and fiat is 20th century money. So they're constantly talking about everything in the fiat price, instead of mentioning that this company owns more Ethereum than any other company, guys. And Ethereum's price has gone up a lot over the years. I mean, my goodness. Just over the last 5 years alone, Ethereum is up, 1,000%, guys. So what these short sellers are trying to get us to do is they're trying to get us to think that a company that owns an asset that's gone up over 10x over the last 5 years, that's a bad investment. And that we should somehow just buy Ethereum and ignore these companies. But once again, these short sellers, they don't understand the power of digital assets. So let's actually look at this guy's report. Sad that I'm actually pulling up this website, giving this guy traffic, but because this company, they're really putting out lies and FUD with this report, and it's all short-term focused. The entire report is attacking BMNR based on the last 3 months instead of having a long, stretched out point of view. So let's just quickly go over it. So he says we're short shares of Bitmine Immersion, an $18 billion Ethereum-focused digital asset treasury company chasing a model on its way to extinction. Says the playbook is lifted straight from strategy, MSTR, and copied by dozens of other digital asset wannabes. Okay, let's stop it right there. First of all, this is not a wannabe strategy. This is a shift in the way companies manage their balance sheet. Companies are scared of holding fiat dollars like US dollars, Canadian dollars, euro, whatever. They're scared, yen, Singapore dollars. People are scared because the governments continue to print too much money. Okay, to kind of illustrate this, if you look at the purchasing power of the US dollar, it's lost the majority of its purchasing power over time, okay? About 99% of it. And this is exactly why prices keep going up, right? The purchasing power of the US dollar has fallen sharply over the last century due to rising inflation and money supply. So we all know what inflation is. When you go to the store and you try to buy stuff, and it's always more expensive, right? Price for everything. Rent, food, right? You know, going out at night, entertainment, even going on dates. You guys going on dates, you ladies going on dates in the United States, in Europe, other countries. Expensive, right? I saw somewhere the average cost for a date was over $100. How is that possible? It costs over $100 just to get to know someone for the first time. That's what happens when you have inflation. And then for the money supply, this is happening because the governments continue to print trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Okay? So your dollar is going down in value because the government, the United States government, keeps printing and issuing more and more and more dollars via the M2 supply. M2 constantly going up, okay? By the M2 constantly going up and the U.S. government's printing more and more money, this reduces the purchasing power of the dollar. So this is not what, BMNR and other companies are doing when they're copying strategy. They're not trying to chase some model that is going to increase their returns. They're trying to escape fiat inflation. They're trying to stop the governments from devaluing the biggest asset on their balance sheet, which is their cash reserves. They're just switching to a better, more form of money, which is Ethereum. So right there, the attack is completely not understanding. I understand in short that he doesn't understand what Tom Lee and everyone at BitMine are doing. So he constantly says sell stock at a premium of the value of the tokens, recycle the proceeds. Once again, this is wrong too, because at the end of the day, the company is simply stacking Ethereum because Ethereum is going to be worth $10, $15, $20, $30, $40,000. Wouldn't it make sense to buy it when it's 90% cheaper? It has nothing to do with recycling the proceeds for more crypto. It's just ridiculous. So again, it taxed the premium. Once again, premiums change over time. The MNAV fluctuates, okay? I've been a MSTR shareholder for about 5 years, and I've seen the MNAV at times below 1. And just last year, it was below 1 during the bear market in 2023. And then in 2024, at one point, it was over 3. So the MNAV is not fixed. It's going to fluctuate, okay? And then, the report just basically keeps talking about the short-term issues, right? Here we go again, constantly focusing on the MNAV now and ignoring the 2.8 million in Ethereum holdings. Like that won't be valuable in the future. This stuff is completely ridiculous. And the funny thing is, he not only attacked the company, he actually took a shot at Tom Lee himself. You guys got to see this one. We got to skip to this one where he takes a shot at Tom Lee. Okay, so he also makes a bunch of attacks saying that basically Saylor's playbook worked back then. It doesn't work for companies anymore. Once again, not understanding that companies want a better asset on their balance sheet. And then he even took a personal shot at Tom Lee himself, guys. He said, in addition to the lack of scarcity, BMNR also lacks the intangible forces that once kept MicroStrategy's premium aloft. While Executive Chairman Tom Lee brings name recognition to strategy and television commentary, he does not command the kind of cult-like following that turned Michael Saylor into a meme stock icon, able to issue billions in equity without losing investor enthusiasm. Strategy built on reflexivity, needs scarcity, charisma, and presumably something more innovative beyond massive ATM issuance to keep the flywheel spinning. BMR offers none of these. Okay, first of all, he's wrong about this as well, because I remember when Saylor bought Bitcoin back in August 2020, he didn't have a cult-like following. In fact, everyone thought he was an idiot. Okay? And remember, BMNR started buying Ethereum in July. So how many months has that been, guys? For you guys out there that skip math class, that's 3 months. So how are you going to build a cult-like following in 3 months? Come on. This is ridiculous. All of this stuff, these short sellers, they play on your emotions. They try to get you to focus on the short run. Hence again, look at the MNAV. He shows an MNAV chart of 3 months, and that's supposed to make me sell. BMNR is over 2.8 million Ethereum, more than 2% of the total supply. They're going after 5% of supply. Wall Street needs Ethereum to mint, tokenized stocks, guys. There's going to be a time where you'll be able to take your stocks off of these brokerage platforms and hold them in your crypto wallet. And that Ethereum is going to make that happen, okay? This report goes on and on and on, and it talks a little bit more about the same things. It basically attacks the ATM and the MNAV over and over and over again. Talks about dilution and things like that. I'm going to link to it in the description if you guys want to check it out. I don't want to keep talking on and on about it. It goes on a little bit longer, and I want to kind of cut this video and keep it short. But guys, come on. You know, when Saylor started with MSTR, there were a lot of haters. There were a lot of FUD. And I'm just actually impressed. I think Tom Lee has actually done better than Saylor did when he first started, because it really took Michael Saylor a long time to really build up the Bitcoin holdings. And Tom Lee has you know, acquired over 2% of the Ethereum supply in just 3 months as chairman of BitMine. He didn't do it by himself, guys, but that's pretty impressive in my book, that he's taken so much massive action. And of course, the short sellers are going to attack this stock, okay? You know, it has a lot of potential. You know, it was just trading, you know, people were paying $160 for it earlier this year. One of the biggest mistakes I made with MSTR is I didn't understand that holding digital assets on the balance sheet makes for a stronger company. And that's just something that the short report, you know, doesn't mention, okay? Another thing, there isn't a single mention about staking income. Do you know how much money Ethereum can earn? I'm sorry. Do you understand how much money BitMine is going to earn when they start staking Ethereum? Okay. Now, initial reports showed, I believe I saw somewhere in an interview, that BitMine could earn anywhere from $200 to $300 million alone annually from just staking their Ethereum. And I believe that number came out back when you know, they had a lot less Ethereum. So this report doesn't mention this. This is what's going to turn the tide. And this is something that all of you guys who own, whether BMNR or any other digital asset company, is that these companies are going to not only have a stronger balance sheet than the fiat companies, but they're going to be able to generate yield from their Ethereum holdings. And when the rest of the world sees that, there'll be thousands and thousands and thousands of Ethereum treasury companies, just like there's going to be thousands and thousands of Bitcoin treasury companies, because this short report leaves that part out. And we don't know when, you know, Tom Lee and the guys over at BMNR are going to start staking that Ethereum and generating that revenue. But guys, that staking yield is going to be the highest on Wall Street, right? Because BMNR is the most Ethereum. So they're going to have the highest Ethereum staking revenue on the street. So I'm not selling that type of company. That's foolish. You know, these reports, I don't care. You know, I just wanted to make a video about them. I'm not selling any of my shares. In fact, guys, payday's coming up. I'm probably going to load the boat and buy some more. So I'm really looking at two things. I want to load more common shares, and then I want to load up some of the option contracts. Looking at quarterly returns for Ethereum are actually stronger in Q1 than they are in Q4, guys. So Q4 is usually good for Bitcoin, and then Ethereum does really, really well in Q1 and maybe even in Q2 as well. Not really sure. There might be a bear market, but I think Q1 will be strong, and then I think maybe there's like a sell-off or something like that. Not really sure. But what I would do is, if I wanted to really maximize my returns, I would take a look at those options expiring in Q1. So once again, at like the $105 option, I think those can print. Okay. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, this short seller report doesn't worry me. It would worry me if we didn't have as much Ethereum as we do. 2.8 million Ethereum and counting. I'm not worried about the dilution. It was necessary for us, for BMNR shareholders to get a leg up on the competition, just like Strategy did and Michael Saylor. So I think Tom Lee, you know, the attack on Tom Lee, obviously that makes his aura even stronger. So I don't really think anybody has anything to worry about. So like I said, guys, still have the price target at the end of the month of $80, and my top price for this cycle is $420. So like I said, if you guys enjoy my content, like I said, smash the subscribe button and let me know what you guys think. Is this short seller report FUD or is it facts? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. See you in the next one.